If we stay stuck in the guilt of the one mistake we made, we're missing all that we've done well. And they're all there. You have to intentionally find them. But it starts with self-compassion. Go, you know what? Not my finest moment. I apologize for it. I'm human. I made a mistake. Moving forward, I will do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
We all know that being a parent is a huge blessing, but it can also be equally exhausting. And sometimes when you're on call all the time, your patience can be a little bit short. Most people have family who can step in and give parents a little bit of a break, but that's not always the case. And it might not be enough to actually stop the frustration or the desire to yell. My
mhm.
guest today is a yell-less parent coach, a yell-less mama parent coach, in fact, whose own physical sense of her isolation from her extended family ultimately caused her to support other moms and families as a parent coach herself. So welcome to the show, Claire Cetti.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We always chat a little bit before we start to record, and I loved what you said about the different kinds of parent yelling. Could you talk about the different types?
Yes. Okay. So you're talking about when I refer to pressure cooker yeller, or are you a frequent flyer yeller? So the idea is that not everyone yells the same, right? Some people are frequent flyer yellers. Maybe they're yelling all the time. It's the only way they get their message across. It's the only way the kid will listen. So they just yell daily or frequently. Those are the frequent flyer yellers. Then there's the pressure cooker yeller. And that was me. I was a pressure cooker yeller. I walking around, everything looked like it was fine, but everything was just like this bubbling underneath agitation, frustration, anger until boop, like that mind blown emoji on the phone, like just like the pressure cooker and just would yell, let it all out. So yeah, the question is, are you a pressure cooker yeller or are you a frequent flyer yeller?
I think it maybe are some people a little bit of both sometimes too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when you say that, when you give them names as pressure cooker and frequent flyer, it feels more comforting to know that it's not just you.
Oh
It
no. Mhm.
and you must hear that a lot.
Yes, I want to normalize it. Not saying, oh, it's okay, yell all you want. That's not what I'm saying, but normalize the frustration, the anger that actually lies underneath the yelling. And which is why I call myself the yell less mom coach that we talked about earlier, because I really want to acknowledge the unrealistic expectation that we'll never yell again. Because underneath the yelling is always something, the anger, the frustration, and that's what we want to pay attention to. And it's okay to get frustrated and feel angry, right? And oftentimes when we're not acknowledging that, that's where the yelling is actually coming from. So it's not about never yelling again, but it's about learning how to yell less because you're really acknowledging all the other stuff that's going on underneath. And often, and most times, when we're focusing on the yell less, moms will often get to the place of, I can't remember the last time I yelled because they're learning the skills of dealing with what's causing the yelling in the first place.
So, are there specific things that, let's say, events, maybe 5 events or triggers that parents, when they are exposed to these events and triggers, it just
Mhm.
causes them to yell? Are there commonalities with that?
Yeah, I love that question. There are so many triggers. The triggers that cause people to yell are very unique to every person, really, because experiences, growing up, all of those things. But common triggers are things that lead them down the path of either fear or anxiety, of feeling powerless. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck, right? Worrying about what's going to happen next. Oh my gosh, if my kid's doing this now, what does that mean about later? I call those mental movies, right? So underlying fear and anxiety of I don't know what to do, so I need to do something. And oftentimes that's that yelling to feel like you've got some sort of control. It's the feeling out of control, really, that really can trigger yelling. I have an ebook. There's 3 common reasons why moms are yelling, or and things you can do about that today. But if we're talking about events, I would say daily events are very common ones are kids not listening, whining, a messy house. These are common triggers that get mom's really, oh my gosh, but the underlying cause is really for a lot of reasons why moms are yelling is really a high expectations that are not reasonable. Again, like getting caught up in power struggles, the feeling of lack of control. And really another one is just not having the capacity because they're just not taking the time for themselves. You can learn a lot more about that in the ebook I have, but those are really common, the most common.
I think as parents, we feel a little bit more judged than you ever had before. People are looking at your kids saying, why are they letting you do that? There's a lot of external pressures on parents now.
So much so. And something you said when in the beginning, when you said, when you shared how I was away from my family, right? So the lack of support and having to figure things out on your own is really hard because then you have all these expectations. I should be doing that. I should be doing that. They're doing that. It's this comparison. Like, and we're looking outside of ourselves, other things we should be doing, which is really can be overwhelming because we're just like, what am I even doing? I know that's what I was thinking, right? So what am I even doing? I have no idea. Questioning everything or every decision I made. Am I messing up my kids? Is this the right thing to do? What would they think? And when we do that, that's super overwhelming. But what you're talking about too is this idea of parenting in front of an audience. And that is one of the most pressure-filled way to parent when we're parenting in front of an audience, and that can be family, friends, neighbors, strangers, like in the store, and a kiddo is acting out, or maybe they're not listening to us, or they're defiant, whatever the case may be, and we go, oh my gosh, we have to deal with it because what would they think? And we're looking outside, but what a kiddo really needs right now is us to be like attuned to them and what do they need from me right now, and being able to put those blinders on. That's hard to do,
Mhm.
but that is also a skill of being able to go, okay, right now, I need to do this. My kiddo is having a temper tantrum. What can I do right now? And so I offer this tip with a client and also in my social media, I'll say, one of the things you can do when you're finding yourself parenting in front of an audience, one, recognize what's happening. Okay, this is hard. This is, oh my God, eyes are on me. This is really, I feel pressure. That's okay. Acknowledge it. That's real. Next thing is what you can do is get away from the audience if you can. So basically what that can look like is, you know what? Can you guys excuse us for a moment? I need to help my kid. And hopefully people will leave the room or they're sit right. But if you like say you're in a store, you can't do that or something, you can say, excuse me right now, I'm gonna move my kids so I can help them out. And you remove yourself from the audience. So those are two actionable things that you can do to help empower yourself and get some power back. Because that's that powerlessness, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh
Yeah.
my, the camera's on you now. Oh my gosh, and everyone it's awful. But those are two things you can do to get some control back for yourself and stay regulated enough to move forward in a more effective way when you're caught in those situations.
You're bringing back memories of being in stores and having the kids melt down. And you have you're in an aisle, you're trying to get out, you've got the cart full of groceries. And I know like my reaction was always, okay, I'm just going to stay as calm as I can or look as calm as I can. You're just boiling underneath and you're pushing through, trying to get through to the next thing. And it seems like you set yourself up because it's one more thing and you're going to go off. Whereas
Yeah,
what you're saying is you can just totally step aside from that
yeah,
and focus on the kids and take care of the situation instead of trying to ignore it for
yeah,
longer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I was pregnant with my third one, my second one, my oldest, my stepdaughter, but and so I had my stepdaughter, then I had my 2.5-year-old, and I was pregnant with my other one. We were in a post office. I had to mail something that was time sensitive that day. It had to be hand post stamped, right? And so my 2.5-year-old, there was a whole long line waiting for the windows at the post office. It's just like an echo chamber. It's like really loud in this post office. And he decides that this is a good time to have a temper tantrum and screaming, like echoing, and I'm pregnant, and I'm looking at him, and it took everything in me to keep it together. Like I was not going to leave and come back. So it's just okay. I remember saying to myself, I'm sorry, people.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to deal. And I did everything I could to rein him in and help keep him corralled. And he eventually settled down and we moved right along. Like it passed. It didn't define the rest of my life. It didn't like it's just, but it can feel so much. Oh my gosh, this is like emergency. This had to end now. But I just remember very clearly speaking to myself and like, okay, I'm sorry to everybody, and I'm just gonna have to deal with him right now, and this is what I gotta do. And yeah,
Which
not
is,
easy.
it's really good. It's good that you had that clarity. And that's something that I love that you're able to teach other people because, like I said, if you don't have that vision of the ability to do that, it's not going to come right to you. So,
I have no idea where that came from, to be honest with you. It was not like, oh, this is what I need to do when this happens. It was so overwhelming. And I think what happened was I knew I couldn't leave and come back. So I was forced to deal. And what was I going to do? Scream in front of all like that? I wasn't going to do that. So that was more of a self-preservation than anything else. But I do know that it's just knowing that this is going to pass. And it was just that self-talk. And that's
yeah.
one of the things that we need to do for ourselves when we're caught in a situation that's really hard. It's really that mantra, talking to ourselves, okay, I can do this. This is not fun.
So is that what helps people to maybe choose not to yell? Let's say they really don't want to yell, but they keep going back to yelling. Is it talking to yourself, catching yourself that makes the difference? Or what can they do to stop that automatic response for themselves?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, I'm gonna say no. Yelling less is more about skill than it is about will. Oh, I'm just gonna say these moves are awesome. Don't get me wrong, affirmation and all our self-talk is very important, but there's a lot of skill that we need to learn before we're doing that part, right? And so oftentimes these skills are things we were not modeled or taught. So it really isn't your fault, so to speak. You have a stress response, your brain is automatically going there, right? But we have to learn. You had a great question here. What are the steps? Are the indications that you're getting there? And that is the awareness and being understanding of what are those sensations for you so that you can choose to stop. And then once you choose to stop, that's when the mantras are really helpful to help you stay regulated and thinking.
Okay, so the steps that you help people with, do you help them to figure some of these things out?
Yes. Yep. So the program I have in my one-on-one coaching, I use what I call the C.A.R.E.S approach to parenting, is C-A-R-E-S. And it's literally what I did in my own journey. Because you asked me if I had any bad parenting moments, and I really bad or learning parenting moments, right? We're always learning. And if we make a mistake, we lose our cool. It is a learning opportunity. I don't think it's bad parenting. It's just you had a hard time. And what do I need to do now to help make that better, right? So that don't keep repeating that pattern. And so it was in July 2003 that I had a moment of rage that changed the trajectory of my parenting because after I literally threw a phone across the room. It was just like, and I looked down and my kiddo was looking up at me. And the look on their face was one of two things. And I was not a mama who cares at that moment. I was a mama who scares, like the scare, like fear. And two, it was me looking at my mother at that same age. And it just, boom, I just knew, oh my gosh, I have to do something about this relationship with rage if I really want to have a relationship with my kids. And because I didn't want to have this generational cycle, that's a cycle. And so I was just repeating what I saw in that moment. I knew it, it just clicked. I did not know how. So fast forward to my kids are all now older, but fast forward, that's what I call the care as opposed to parenting. It's what I did to change that cycle to being able to stay calmer and connected with my kids during those hard. Parenting is hard, but it doesn't have to be miserable. And I call it becoming a mama who cares. So that's another little slogan I have with that too. So
I love the acronym. I love the fact that you're willing to share that with people and show that you went from one moment where it really impacted you and made such a difference in how you perceived your child's experience. Okay, so let me ask you this. When we're talking about the teen and tween years, Does
Mhm.
the yelling stop? Does it shift? Does anything change?
Okay, that's a great question. Here's the thing, when you can start learning the CARES approach anytime. And the reason why I call it an approach, because it is not a checklist and then we're there. There's no such thing. Do these 5 things, you're good to go, your parenting's gonna be great. That's why I call it an approach. So within CARES, you'll always know where you are. You know, right smack dab in the middle of it is remember the relationship. And the relationship is the glue that holds you and your kiddos together. We're meant to be connected. We're meant to be in a relationship, right? And so one of the questions you have is here is, I can't find it right now, but it's just the parenting power that you have is the relationship you have with your kids. That's your parenting power right there. And the CARES shows you how to have that relationship with them even when things are hard, even when you're not agreeing with them or you're not liking what you're seeing or hearing, that sort of thing. So fast forward to teens, they're growing into their own independent selves, they're exploring ideas and thoughts and maybe everything inside of you, all the fire alarms are going off. Oh my God, what's actually even happening? I've got to stop this now. But that is where I call it. You might be in the letter E of engaging with the kids, having conversations, and they say something, and you're like, find yourself up in the C and triggered, and oh my gosh, right? And so we have a choice there to either engage in that power struggle, go back at it, or go, okay, I'm gonna be here and be in relationship with them and hear what they have to say. Because when we see our kiddo's perspective, even if we don't agree, if they think we have seen their perspective truly, they are much more receptive to what we might have to say, teach, guide, that sort of thing. Doesn't mean that they're gonna do everything we want 100% of the time. No, but you're more likely to have an influence, your parenting power influence because of the relationship. So to answer your question, when we have that skill, we are much less likely to yell.
Actually, if I think about the development of our kids, I think the more they understood what was going on, like you said, the more that we could have those conversations, the more the doors open. And the yelling definitely did get less. So
Yeah, it
and you
does.
felt more in control of what you were saying because you knew that they were hearing you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think too, we actually learn a lot when we take the time to engage and listen. Oh, I never even thought of that, right? We just immediately assume we know what's best, and we just miss the opportunity to learn more information and trust that maybe they do know what's best in this situation for themselves, right? But we go jump in and solve something, and we might be missing a crucial part of the information, and it's not right at all, right? So it really is a learning of being able to actively listen and tolerate the uncomfortable feelings we might be feeling while we're listening. Who that's not easy to do. But when we learn how to do this, our kiddos are learning right alongside us, and it's a whole lot nicer to be connected and engaged. That's really powerful and we've spent more time there. So I'll give you another quick story. With my youngest one, when she was 16, we were having a very hard conversation. It was a topic that my alarms were going off all over the place. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so at one point, I remember saying to him, like, hold on. I'm getting triggered. I really want to be able to have this conversation. So I just need a minute. Okay. So she gets up and she walks out and she goes to her room and I'm just like, okay, what's going on? But now actively I'm doing CARES. I caught myself now I'm assessing what is actually happening here. What's going on with me? What am I worried about? What do I want to come out of this? Like that kind of thing. And just like really be able to get myself regulated again enough where I could think clearly and go back to the conversation. So I remember texting him like, okay, I'm good. Are we good to go? Can we continue the conversation? Sure. She came back and we continued the conversation. Was it the one and only conversation? No, it was several, but this particular one, rather than getting into that conflict and yelling and oh my gosh, fear, that would have been fear. So I don't want to make this sound like it's really easy, but that is the skill that I teach how you do. And then when we can do that, they do that with us. It is a much better place to be in solving problems together from there.
Yeah, that could have gone so many different ways. Like you said, if it's not right then, over time, you were able to
Yeah.
work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like I do this all the time and I'm this perfect parent. No, no, because I have lost my cool, right? I have lost my cool in those moments, but that's where repair comes back, right? That's where repair comes in. You know what? That wasn't my finest moment. I'm really sorry about that. I got triggered and I want to do better next time. Can we try again? So you just own the mistakes. It's going to happen. It's okay. You haven't messed everything up.
I think my kids could probably tell you there's moments where I did something similar and I actually went back and I apologized. I was like, I'm so sorry. And just like we were saying, you're owning your mistake, your humanness, the fact
Yeah.
that you could have handled it differently. And I think they remember it because we've had conversations where, do you remember the time that you,
Yeah.
but they're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
And they remember the apology and they remember working through it. And so hopefully that will become the lesson out of all of it and not the yelling.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to add to that. I love that because they do remember, you remember, and it becomes more lighthearted. Like it's a memory, it's a learning. We
Yeah.
learned something, right? And now we go, oh, remember that? We don't want that to happen again. But the last thing I want to say is like when we have our kids come back, oh, you remember when you threw the phone? Because trust me, they remember. We still talk about it. They're 27 years old now. They were 5 when it happened. And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't my finest moment. Like we can talk about that more in a lighthearted way because we've moved past it, but really give yourself self-compassion and grace for the mistake. We don't want to stay stuck in that because then you ruminate and you stay stuck in that because there's so many amazing things you're doing every single day. And if we stay stuck in the guilt of the one mistake we made, we're missing all that we've done well. And they're all there. You have to intentionally find them, but it starts with self-compassion. Go, you know what? Not my finest moment. I apologize for it. I'm human. I made a mistake. Moving forward, I will do better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really want to offer that self-compassion.
That's brilliant. It really is so important just being a person and being able to accept where you're at in that moment too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your programs and where people can find you, because I know they're going to have more questions.
Oh, my program is, I call it the C.A.R.E.S approach to parenting. It is a one-on-one coaching program I have that we do over 10 sessions. So basically we spend about 3 to 4 months together. Does it take time? Yes, because for real change to happen, it takes time. So it's very close knit, like a very, safe container where we just get right in and we explore about what's happening. What do you want to see happening? And I start teaching you the skills, starting with the letter C of catching yourself. I start teaching you the skills of how to understand what you can do next by assessing, how to choose the relationship over being right, because you might be right, but we don't need to be right now. And then the letter E is engaging. And this is where we start talking about tools and strategies, communication skill, ways we say things to engage conversation, encourage conversation. And then the letter S is ways to solve problems together. That's C.A.R.E.S. And so that is just a really robust process that I love teaching, and it's transformational. So parents can reach me in my website, www.ccparentcoach.com. And I sent you a link to a freebie if they want to start with my ebook. They can start with the 3 reasons why they might be yelling.
Perfect. Perfect. And if they have any questions, can they email you at that website as well?
Of course, yes, yeah. You can book a call there, or you can actually, if they want to email me, Claire@ccparentcoach.com. They can also, I'm on Instagram a lot. So if they want to follow me, Claire Cetti Parent Coach, they can message me there. So there's lots of places where you can find me.
Fabulous. Well,
Yeah.
Claire, thank you for your honesty today. It would have been easy to say you never yelled, but you admitted to being a real human and real parent. And I appreciate that. And thank you for your time and all your insight as well.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Awesome. Thank you.